when people look at you, Raoul, they see a guy who's incredibly accomplished, Goldman Sachs and the GLG and all this incredible, broadcasting platforms and your advisory service. But when you look under the surface, your teenage years seem like you were just a real screw up and nobody would hire you. And I'm just wondering, something must have flipped in your brain, or I don't know, did something change where you looked at the world in a different way and thought, if I do it this way, I can be successful?
So, I kind of, early on in school, I did really well. And then afterwards, I discovered cars, girls, and the pub. And I kind of started failing exams. And I wasn't out of order. I mean, my parents would never say, he was a rebel or anything. I just didn't focus enough. And then I couldn't be bothered because I kind of think I could do it. I could wing anything. And sometimes it didn't work. And then so I ended up getting one offer to get into university. So it was the only university that would take me. And then I graduated right in the middle of the recession in 1990. And I wanted to go into finance. And there were no jobs in finance because everyone's just been made redundant. So it was that start. But I always had a relative confidence in myself. And my parents brought that in me because my father was Indian. And one of the things that they would do is dad was in marketing and then executive search, where he had his own kind of headhunting company. And he would have these parties at the house where I was expected to pour drinks and socialize. And as a 14-year-old or 13-year-old kid, you get to socialize with really interesting people and you get to learn how to have conversation. And he stuck me through that. And it's annoying, and anybody with an Indian father will know that is how it works, but it actually teaches you some skills. And the skill is how to get on with people and how to communicate. So I'd acquired that skill and a belief in myself that if I needed to, I could do it. So at university, I basically didn't go to lectures for 2 years. And in the final year, they pulled me aside and said, listen, you're going to get thrown out unless you sort yourself out. I'm like, yeah, I probably do. And so I just got my head down and, came out with a 2-1, which is second grade down from the top, and pulled it all together and got through it. And that made me realize, I can do anything. And then I learned the trick of, there's two things the other thing that really helped me massively was I'm very broad-minded, and that came from travel. I've been a fanatic of travel. My parents got me, traveled to India, traveled to Morocco as a 6-year-old kid, so I had travel experience, broad, my mum's Dutch, so multicultural. So that gives you a sense of fearlessness and understanding of people, which I think is very good. And then I just learned that if I visualize something in the future, I can make it happen. Because it gives you a path to go. And your path may be never straight. In fact, it'll never be straight. And it may not be exactly the future you're expecting, but you're definitely going to get somewhere over there than if you don't have a plan. So I visualize myself probably about 10 years ahead, and use that visual image of myself to try and make it happen. And that's been my secret.
And that's something you came up with yourself? Huh. Well, it's clearly working. And I love to hear the before and after story. And I want people to know it as well, because it's easy to look at you and just say you've always...
So when I first started in finance, I got into a firm that was quite prestigious, but it wasn't in the US investment bank league that had just come to London, right? So I was at a firm called James Capel, which was part of HSBC. It was the stockbrokers to the Queen, but it was, a regional player. And all I thought every day is I want to work for Goldman Sachs. But obviously I couldn't, because I had a terrible degree from a crappy university. But I thought, I want to work for Goldman. So I eventually working for Goldman Sachs.